there's creative energy happening. So.
Of course, yes, there is, definitely. In our dreams.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've been meditating too. So when you meditate as well, you can reach a higher awakening, and you can get into your soul and your thoughts, and it's really another world, dimension. So it's, yeah, no, I know, it's really fascinating.
Christina Strigas, raised by Greek immigrants, born in Montreal, Canada, has been featured by CBC Books in Your Ultimate Canadian Poetry List, 68 poetry collections recommended by you. Christina is an author of 5 novels, 3 poetry books, and 1 self-help poetry book based off her popular quotes that went viral on Twitter. Her latest poetry book, Love and Metaxa, will be released on May 1st, 2021. And did I say it right?
Yes, you did. Metaxa.
I got all the pronunciations right. That's wonderful.
Good job.
Talk to me about the meditation and the soul searching in your life. Talk to me a little bit.
Okay. So, well, I've been meditating the last, I would say, a year and a half to 2 years. I find that I try to find the time, if I could, maybe 2 or 3 times a week, to search and to ask angels and to try to find a higher consciousness and level of awakening and to explore my creativity. So the last month and a half, I decided to start painting because I don't want to sound like it's crazy, but a spirit guide more or less guided me to do this and to start painting. And I started, and I suddenly, I don't know why and how it came upon, but it just came out of me. I didn't know what I was going to paint. I just took, I went to the art store and I bought canvases and paint and paintbrushes, and without a class or anything, I just started to paint. And then after that, I took some tutorials on, YouTube, and I've been painting, and I love it. And people seem to like it. For myself, it's just self-exploration and reaching a higher consciousness.
Do you have anyone in your family, maybe the way your community brothers, sisters, that were creative in that tactile sense, either painting or anything? So this came from
painting. No, it just came from a higher source. I won't say much more than that, but let's just say a spirit guide. We'll say a spirit guide. So, in a sense that to align my poems within my paintings, you know what I mean? Words a little bit more within the painting. So the last painting I did, I decided to write a little quote in it with a Sharpie. So I'm using oil on canvas, and then it took me a few days to do it and to see what I was going to do. But I don't know how to draw very well. I am a teacher, and I have taught art. Like every day I'll teach art within my class, and I'll have a little bit of an understanding, pastels and the mediums and the techniques of art. But to say that I know a lot and I love arts, but to actually paint it, it's something that, I'm astounded that I'm actually painting and people actually like it. I ask my friends, my family, and they're really impressed with the colors, you know what I mean? And so I'm just continuing it for myself.
Do you think that's partially a likelihood of the fact that you don't have to put much pressure on yourself to be a great painter, that you're doing it for your soul, for your own self?
Of course, definitely. I don't have to think about anybody, gonna buy it or anything. It's just here in my office right now. And I'm thinking, where am I going to put it in my house? And my daughter's like, I want to put that in my room. And my son says he wants to put something in his room. And even if my family members have my art on their wall, it's something, part of me, right? And they do say that it's very spiritual. So it makes them feel good when they look at the paintings. And it is coming from a spiritual place because I'm thinking of other dimensions and other worlds, and it's kind of showing up in the paintings. You know what I mean? I'm not painting people, or it's just images and more abstract. We'll say abstract because I'm not a painter in that sense. So more abstract, because abstract anybody can really do in a sense, right? It's not, you can just start making squares and circles, but it's not a technique. I'm not using, and I'm learning as I go along. So let's say, for instance, last week I said, I want to try the palette knife painting. So I did some tutorials I watched on YouTube, so you subscribe to YouTube and you learn so much. and you start painting from there. There's some people that are just self-taught, right? You can be artistic and you can just teach yourself, and if you have it in you, which I never knew. I mean, I'm 52 and I never knew I could paint on a, you know what I'm saying? It's like, wow, I'm actually painting.
I know exactly what you're saying, and be honest with you, you're
Yeah.
not just inspiring me and probably anyone who's watching this. I'm sure many of you that are listening or watching this right now are inspired by this. You're also challenging us, because I know for a fact that I see my other friends doing some of this, and I still, to this day, I love to sketch here and there, but I wouldn't show anybody, and I'm afraid of it. And there's no courage in me when it comes to the idea of trusting that it's going to be okay no matter what.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it, and it's going to be okay.
That's it.
My wife has a real talent with sketching and with painting and drawing and things like that. And our oldest son carried on that gene, and he's got a very good eye for that. But there's nothing stopping me but me.
That's what I was going to say. I don't care. I'll share it on my Instagram. I don't even care, because I'm not selling it. I'm just showing it, and oh, cool, you like it? I mean, it's just a part of me and my creativity, and to share. I didn't even know I had it in me. I'm looking at them now and I say, wow, I did that. Oh my God. People come over and I show it to them and they say, I can't believe you're painting this. This is really cool. And the colors are vibrant. I said, well,
well, you have a lovely presence. I've seen some of your videos on YouTube, and I know there's a wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
I know, and that's one of the reasons I was very grateful that you said yes when I asked you to join me today, because I think that there's a real vibrancy and an aliveness to well, of course, to the written word. There's a vibrancy and aliveness, but to the spoken word. And so I'd like to ask you, if you would, for our audience, to read one of your works, and you can tell us what the name of it is, and it's the Ode. So if you could read that for us, that'd be great.
So I'll read this one, An Ode to My Pen, which is from an upcoming project that I'm working on. It's a poetry book with my friend Alexandra Meehan, who's my editor, and Jackie Prebich, who's also a good friend of mine. We all met on Twitter, and we become really close. And we're going to put together a book. So this is from that book, okay? An Ode to My Pen. It can truly be, wait, I need my glasses. Ah! I'm getting old. I'll start over. An Ode to My Pen. It can truly be as symbiotic as a love affair. For teachers, doctors, lawyers, secretaries, a linguistic lover's lane of lovely words, attacked by a single Bic roller glide. It took me 50 years to find you, my most precious black, silver, gray, hard love. I get excited to see you, so upset when I misplace you, hard to replace you. You make my mind explode on paper, journals, pads of paper. I prefer you to all the rest. What does a keypad have to do with our love? It is cold, rough, static under me. But you, my love, are rolling like a pagan god come to find a mortal lover. Be it night or day or evening or early sunrise, you make your way between my fingers and are patient like a dog. You wait for me to make something out of nothing. You are packaged up and lonely, holding on to glue, anticipating a writer's love. An entire world runs inside your veins, lands into my journal, and waits until the love affair begins again with a different date each time.
Thank you so much for that reading. So tell us, if you would, if you want, what are the subtexts to some of this?
Okay, well, with this poem, obviously, I was imagining a pen in a store, and which pen should I select? Which pen should I pick? Because I don't know about you, but I really like the Bic roller glides. I mean, we all have a preference with our pens, right? So when I go to Biron Gros, I will go and I buy my Bic roller glide pens, or if I buy another one. So it's just that connection that we have with the pen and the paper, and then with the word and what we're going to write every day. And if I prefer to I like in journals. So it's that whole ethereal connection that a writer has to a pen. I mean, it may be just for somebody, it's nothing and they don't care, right? But for me and for somebody that has a connection with words, it is just like a messenger. It's the messages that we create and we write with our pens that are magical, and people read it, and it's just imagery of a pen. I don't know, I wanted to just use a lot of metaphors and poetic devices to display that. This is a
You,
rough draft, by the way. It's not edited but I think that you get it.
do
It's
you
an ode.
find that that's something that was important to you for a long time? Is that, would that
Well,
harken back to your youth,
oh,
to your younger
you know what?
years?
Because I've always loved journals and writing in my diary from 14 years old, teenage angst and all that, boy that never likes you and all this stuff that you'd write in your journals, and I'd have my pens and my colors, and I just like that. It's just that whole, the colors of even a journal, like I have a purple one or a pink one or paper or pads. It's just that connection, definitely.
I was grateful that you chose that, and just anyone that's watching or listening, I didn't ask for that specific
No.
reading. That was Christina's choice. And I do know that for me, you wouldn't have known this. Many people have things that they just seem to gravitate towards. My father, when he was alive, it was watches. He could have watches on top of watches, and even if they stopped working, he still said, "Well, I'll give this to you someday." And I said, "Yeah, but it doesn't work." He said, "Yeah, but you'll like it." And it was something about time, something about time. And I will say, when I look back at my father, he had been ill since I was very young. So time had a real presence for him.
Wow.
For me, it's always been pens. I never knew it was because I wanted to be an author. I never connected it with that, but it was the expression of, I've got pens. I don't have 40 pens. I have maybe 8 pens. And they're ones that, some of them are plastic. Some of them are the cross pens. One of them was given to me, and I received it in the mail. And there's actually a video. If you go back and look at one of the videos, I just remembered, I put it in a video after I published my book, Dear Stephen Michael's Mother. My friend Joe, who lives in Florida, sent me a pen as a gift, because he said every author should have a pen to sign his signed copies with. Oh my gosh,
That's so nice.
That's enough to make you cry.
Yeah.
But see, he didn't realize. I mean, he was telling me, I value you as a person, and I want to give you a pen. But what he didn't realize, just like you didn't when you chose this, was that's probably my legacy that I want to pass on to my children, my family, more than anything else. If nothing else, I would love someone to look at my box of pen and say, "What the hell did he have all these pens?"
I have pens everywhere. You don't understand. Everywhere. In the kitchen, there's a drawer. You open it, pens. And then you're always saying, "Well, where's a pen?" Well, I have pens. Anything you want. But yeah, no, I have a think. And I wanted to share with you on Twitter, I have a fan, a follower. I had sent him a signed copy of my book, Love and Vodka. So I guess as a thank you, he sent me a journal with a pen. And I was really touched, because to receive a pen and a journal, that's beautiful. What better gift for a writer, right?
I've never mentioned this before, so it may cause a stir, I don't know. But one of the book that I wrote is Dear Stephen Michael's Mother, and the cover is a beautiful cover. It's behind me. You can see it there. It's got some pictures there.
Okay.
And I've come up with the idea a while ago of actually having a journal that would have it would say Dear and Mother, and you would put your name in there. So it would be Dear Christina's Mother. You could write whatever you want. It would be more of a collage that you could make in the center, but what it would be a journal with a pen.
That would be beautiful and cathartic if your parents have passed away and you want to write some notes to them, because it's always healing, right?
Right. That's the point. It's healing, and it's not. There's no specifics to it. Dear, Kevin's. Mine is Dear Stephen Michael's Mother, because my name's Kevin Barheit, but I was adopted, and before that I was Stephen Michael.
I saw that. Yes.
Yeah. You would be Dear Christina's Mother, and it's that kind of story. Like if I was going to write a little note to my mother, and that note turned into the book. You're talking about getting this journal and pen from someone else. It means something very different than if it was just a Christmas gift. It was the reason they gave you that. The reason you're writing in it changes based on the gift that was given.
I love that idea. Yes, you should pursue it.
An opening salvo there. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it or not, but it is something that seems to be of great value to people. You really talk about mindfulness and meditation and the art and the creative element, and I think that's been primary to me for years now. I've been a meditator. In the past couple of years, I've really focused on mindfulness. And
Yes.
today, actually, last week was the first time I'm in the middle of taking I think it's a 6-week course every Wednesday, and with the Cooper Institute, and it's online. And in my head, I said, I'm going to sign up for this because I need a refresher on mindfulness.
Yeah.
But then what I realized was it was about mindfulness, but about self-compassion.
Mhm.
Can you tell me in your life, has that been easy, difficult, something you've traveled
Okay.
with?
Well, I could tell you from my experience in my life that I'm highly sensitive and compassionate, and I have a lot of empathy. So it's not easy to live that kind of life because you always feel everybody's energy and you're sensitive to that. I'm a teacher, so a lot of the daytime, my energy is very much drained because I give all the time to young kids, to children. I'm always, all day. So you're with young kids and you're teaching and you have to be all the time on. You're on. It's like the switch is on and let's go, and that drains me a lot. So a lot of times at lunch, I have to stay by myself in my class and just recoup and get back my energy. But I do have compassion and I don't watch a lot of TV, and stuff. I just kind of stay more to myself and take walks. Yeah.
A friend of mine, Andrea, who is an actress, a very successful and wonderful actress. Recently, she posted on Twitter, which is how we all talk to each other these days.
Yes, of course.
And her comment, which I responded to, was all about being a sensitive person. And she was saying that there's a real price to pay, right?
Yes, there
for
is.
that sensitivity.
Look, it's the thing is we're not. You could call my personality is more like an empath personality. If you want to actually label it these days, everybody knows that. But growing up, I didn't know that. I never knew what that word meant. Right? It's a new term that came out in the late 90s, I believe. I don't know, 2000. That word empath. I'm not sure when. But I'm finally discovering a little bit more of who I am, and I'm realizing this is the person that I am, and how to make your boundaries, how to create them, toxic people, you have to kind of know yourself, right? That's what it is.
I'm curious because I'm the same.
Okay.
My brother James. Hi James. My brother who he's my we didn't grow up together because we had the same mom, but I was adopted, but I united with him, and he's an empath, and he taught me about that. Taught me about what it means. He says, Kevin, you're just, we're like each other and we're like mom. And so I'm wondering is the down, you mentioned about toxicity.
Yes, yeah.
But is that a thing that we should avoid, or we should recognize that there are toxic environments and people and situations, but yet we have something to bring to that? And even though it could be draining and maybe even somewhat dangerous.
Well, sometimes you have to at work, right, deal with a lot of issues that are toxic and that you can't run away from, right? Work is a different, domain that you have to deal with certain adults or people or coworkers or colleagues. I have my Jasper stone here. Jasper stone.
Hold it up for everybody. Nobody can see it that quick.
I got it yesterday. I went to a workshop to learn about crystals, and this is my Jasper stone to keep all negative energy away. So I'm wearing it.
Tell me what a Jasper.
I guess the Jasper is this type of stone that will keep negative energy away. It will reflect back. So it's a stone that reflects back, apparently, and protects you. And so basically that's what it is. And you have to deal with toxic people every day. That's just how it is. And you have to just envision a little bubble around you, I guess, or a light, and try to not let it get through. Try to not let it get through. I recently, the workshop that I did, the lady explained to me, just think of yourself as like an egg, like an egg, and then there's different layers in an egg. It's really cool to imagine that, and the light around you, and that people cannot penetrate that light unless you let them in, right? Because I'm the type of person that I'd like to talk to one person at a time, 2 people at a time, 3 people. Large groups and crowds, I can't. It's just sometimes it overwhelms me. And even going like shopping, Walmart and all these places, Costco, I'm dreading it. I have to prepare myself. And then when I come back, I have to go lie down. Oh, I'm tired now. I'm drained. It's a big deal. My husband is like the complete opposite. you know. And I said, well, I need my time right now. I need my
Your
space.
your husband's the opposite, so
Opposite.
he gets energy.
He
from that
loves being
situation.
around people. He's complete opposite of me. He loves it. He loves that energy.
My wife and I are the
Yeah.
same way.
See, opposites
I'm
attract.
like your husband. I'm like your husband, and you're like my wife. We've all got to get together.
Come to Montreal. Come to Montreal.
We do. We're here in New York. We always come to Montreal.
Oh, we're not close. We're not. You're close. It's true.
Yeah, no, we came just 2 years ago. We were there for the Jazz Fest.
Okay. Oh, I love the Jazz Fest. It's
We went
incredible.
to sorry,
So
what is it
nice.
again?
Where?
St. Clair? No, St. Clair.
Mont St.
There's a
Clair.
small town, Mont St. Clair.
Mont St. Clair. You went there. The beautiful. Okay. Beautiful.
Oh, it's a
just
very
beautiful,
small town.
beautiful small towns around.
Absolutely fell in love with it. We never. It was the only time I think I've ever been on vacation where I never wanted to leave.
Wow.
And it was only an hour away from the
beautiful.
Jazz Fest. We had a wonderful time at the Jazz Fest.
So nice.
Yeah,
I can't wait till everything goes back to normal so we can have our jazz festival again.
We will.
We will soon.
And we're, you know what? I've given up on, my friend Diane Cameron is a local author, and she wrote something on Twitter, and I think it was, oh, actually, no, she wrote an op-ed, and the op-ed, which I read on Twitter, I found, if you can't tell, I spend way too much time on Twitter. But
so do I. Don't worry, we all do.
but it's where I get my news. I've curated it well. So Diane Cameron, she wrote this op-ed, and I'm going to guess the name of it, but it was more along the lines of, and it was in the Times Union, our local paper here. You know, I'm over COVID. You know, and I'm done with COVID. And her idea was not that I'm writing it off. She's actually, her and her husband both caught COVID, got sick. I think they've now been vaccinated, but their understanding, and her understanding specifically, was it's not that I just want to ignore it, but I don't think I'm going to wait around any longer to get back to normal. I want to move forward as I am today. And I think that's a really wonderful message of, you know, I break my leg. That doesn't mean I wait to move, to go anywhere, you know, for 6 or 8 or 10 weeks. I get crutches, I hobble around, and eventually I figure out how to do whatever I can do within those boundaries. Yeah, and I think that's wonderful.
That's great. Look, it depends on your lifestyle, it depends on your job and your career. I haven't had no choice. So I've been working from September in the schools with my mask every day. So it's draining as well, just that in this environment. But let's go back to writing. Let's go talk about writing.
You're talking about fatigue.
Because it's just
fatigue.
It's fatigue.
Let's talk about writing fatigue.
Writing fatigue. Well, I don't really get writing fatigue. I find writing energizes me. I'm really not, it's crazy. And I write fast, and I write, like the words come to me quickly when I write.
It sounds like, and you're like me a lot, which is the writing certain things is work to me. In other words, you know, writing an email or writing a work product. But writing creatively, it's like what you say your husband gets charged in certain experiences, and we're all different like that. But I know for me, the writing I walk away from it, I don't feel drained. I don't.
I feel elevated. I feel elevated after I write something, and especially if it's poetry, because poetry is just short and you just write it quickly, and within 5 minutes you can have a poem, and then it takes you a year and a half to edit it. But I'm just saying. But whereas a novel, you know, it takes you a longer time to write, and you know, it's not the same. But with poetry, it's instant, right? You write a poem, oh, I wrote it. Wow, it's done. And you know, a lot of times you can publish it, you can post it, whatever. Yeah.
The writing that I've done is usually very accessible. A lot of the blog posts, and a lot of the guest posts that I've done. The book is got of course, two-tone to it. It's about searching for my biological mother, but it's also about addiction and abuse and many things that are hard for people to read. So most of my family won't read it, and I've encouraged them not to. And you know, if they don't want to, they can if they want. I don't encourage my 92-year-old mother to read the book. If she wants to, she's got a copy of it, signed copy. She opened the box when I got my first 20 copies. You know, I let her open it.
Yeah.
But my real thought is that much of what I write it can be taken by many people. Almost, you know, it's prose, but it's just like anything. You can interpret it as a reader. How does your family, maybe your mother, your father, sisters, brothers, anyone that you'd like to talk about, or your husband, how does your family interpret the kind of writing that you do? What is their take on it?
Well, okay, my father has passed away, God rest his soul. My mom, she's read my poems, she likes them. She's read my book. I mean, and my brother, I find like a family, it's a bit, my husband too, he loves my poems. He thinks that they're incredible and that they're way above and beyond what people understand. Thinks they're too intellectual, he says. They're too smart. They're too good. Yeah, seriously. He says you have to tone it down and write some easy stuff for people to understand. We laugh about
Can I
that.
send my book to him so he can do a review? I want him
I'm
to tell me all the
serious.
good
Like,
things.
this is just too hard. You're using difficult words but we laugh. I laugh. But no, he thinks I'm a great poet and writer. He loves it. My brother too. Everybody is supportive. My friends love my writing. You know, they follow me on Instagram as well. Everybody is supportive of my writing and they like what I write. They enjoy my poetry, my quotes. They connect to them. It's all about connection in the end, right? If you don't connect to a writer, then you're not going to buy their book. I mean, I'm really, that's the point. You connect to a little word or a sentence in a poem, you're feeling it.
I have some dear friends that are poets, and I won't drop names here. Some of them are wonderful and known and well known, and you are one of them. And
Thank you.
it's nice to have a good
Yeah.
friend who I'm not a poet. I mean, when I
Yeah.
say I'm not a poet, I say it's like I'm saying I can't paint.
Mm.
So, right?
Okay.
I'm
You
glad
know
that we're
what?
kind of.
Well, okay. Yeah, it's a little bit like being a poet it's like something that from young you just kind of start writing words down in a different way, right? You see the world, you see language expressed differently. That's what it is. You're expressing language in a different format. It's not, you could be a writer of a short story. Imagine you're the best, you write short stories because you're able to just encompass. I can't write a short story for my life. I've tried many times, but to encompass so much in like 5,000 words, right? That's hard. Or flash fiction. In 500 words, you have to write something. And I've done that. It's not easy. It's hard. It's really hard. But for me, poetry comes just easily. Like it flows easily. And, I can write a novel. I've written novels, but that just takes long. I find with poems, I can write. What makes me a poet? I don't even know what makes me a poet. It's just something that is in me that I have to express. It's just has to come out. It's like the seed that was planted when I was young, and it just is slowly coming out and spreading. But
I'm
don't
going to
know.
say this, that I do understand. My poetry has never been published. I have had one of my poet friends, and specifically read some of not even my poetry, but just something that I had written, and he said, Kevin, that's almost a complete poem there. In other words, you're almost there. And I wasn't trying to write a poem, but
Yeah.
it was the way I was expressing my thoughts. It was much like I do in all of my writing, except it's almost like I take my ability to write poetry and I almost shoehorn it into longer versions.
Yeah.
I like to read books, novels,
Yes.
memoirs, even
Well,
fiction, doesn't matter what it
yeah.
is, that have a lyricism to them. It doesn't have to be rhyming. I'm not saying that kind of, but it has to be something that almost feels like somebody's, and this is the way I've been putting it. When I'm reading a book, I almost want to feel like I'm humming along with the author. Like they're singing a song. I may not know all the words, but I'm humming along with them. And when I hear you reading your poetry out loud, I close my eyes and I just allow myself to emotionally hum along with you. I may not know all the words, but I know the
You know
song.
what? Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. I like that. But also, being a poet is also reading a lot of like when you read poetry, that's how you improve. You have to read the great poets of all time. You have to read them and keep on reading them because you're not as good as you think you are. That's for sure. Because you have to read Wordsworth, you have to read T.S. Eliot, Sexton, you have to read Plath. You just have to keep on reading and improve. Because half the things that I write, I think, oh, that's so terrible. What I wrote is so bad. Like, you know what I mean? And then your other half is, no, that's good. So you're always in conflict with your ego, right? As a poet, because you think it's good, but then it's not as good as you think. You're like, get back down to reality because your head's in the clouds. Like, get back down and edit it and work on it. And that's the line is not that. And Alexandra, my editor, taught me that. Actually, she taught me a lot of that. No, that's terrible. Get rid of that word, or you overuse this word, or stuff like that. That can make your poetry, I guess, better, improve every single poem that you can. But reading other poems and other poetry, I think that is essential. Even as a writer, right? As a writer, you want to read.
Reading other writers, period.
Yeah, reading other writers.
And I think you're absolutely right, because
Yeah.
when we're talking about my experience has been very similar. And my question to you is, I read and read and read, and then as I was writing, I usually picked in my mind the 3 books by 3 separate authors that were my touchstones. I never, let's just say one was Angela's Ashes by Frank McCourt.
Oh,
Pulitzer
book.
Prize.
I love that book. Yes.
So that is not me saying I aspire to write the Pulitzer Prize winning book. It means that's where I wish I could be. It's always that touchstone. But I also found that after I read and read and read, I learned a lot by reading, not bad books, not bad, but things that I didn't want to write like.
Yes.
Do you have that experience too, where you read something and you say, well, I see this is wonderful, but that's not how I think.
But I find, like, I don't want to be judgmental too much when it comes to that, because everybody has their writing style. Because I'm in a book club, right, with some women, and we always, let's say we pick a novel, and 1 or 2 will, well, I don't like what the character did. Morally, that character did this or that. And I said, well, let's look at the writing style. Let's just look at the writer and the writing style. But I'm a writer, so that's what I'm looking at. So I'll say, I love that book. And then, no, but did you see what the character did in the book? Yeah, but look at the writer and the way they write the book and the words that they're using and the diction. And then don't you find like that's more important than the actual plot? I mean, I don't know.
I will tell you quite honestly that I am a high school dropout who couldn't spell his last name, and the addiction and the lifestyle took me downhill pretty quickly. I think there's 2 things here. The biggest freedom I have is that I am, it comes naturally to me, right? It's not, I was reading and writing at a college level when I was, 7th, 8th grade. However, because I missed all those years of education, I really did, I don't have a confidence in the pronouns and the adjectives, and I don't have a confidence in the structure. However, I could probably spend 2 weeks and learn all of those rules.
Yes.
I have chosen not to, because I'm worried, or at least thoughtful of the fact that that can be a hindrance to me expressing myself more organically.
Yes, that's true. Yeah,
and I was afraid, though, that it would make me a worse writer. And I've been told by my editor and the folks that have proofread that I'm not it hasn't made me a worse writer. It's made me a better writer. So
that's it.
I think we all have to know ourselves.
And it's also practice. If you practice every day, whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's but writing every day is, you should be writing every day if you're a writer, right? Right? No pun intended. But
when do you write? Do you write in the mornings, afternoon, evenings?
I like the mornings, early mornings. I try to write in the early mornings before I go to work. I'll try, but like when I'm working, it's hard, or the weekends. Yeah, the weekends. But early morning is, when I was younger, I usually stayed up late and I would write late into the night. But now that I'm getting older, I find the morning is when I write my best. Yeah.
Do you ever find yourself waking up and you said, I can't go back to sleep, I have to go write?
Yes. Yes.
That was kind of a rhetorical.
Yes.
Really...
No, oh God, it's 6 a.m. Okay. It's early, but and the house is quiet, so I like that. It's nice at that time to write. Yeah.
I remember when I first had the impetus to possibly write the book. It was probably 1, 2 in the morning, and I laid there and I said, you got to get up. And I got up and I went downstairs and I wrote maybe a paragraph or 2.
Yeah.
And then I just said to myself, okay, now just put that away. And what I find is that when I resist those instincts, and I'll say it's not an impulse, those real instincts, even though they're scary sometimes, when I resist them, that's when I can't sleep, because I know I got to do it. I've got to.
That's it. You have to write it down. We can write it on a paper. We can write it on a journal. We can write it on my phone. I don't know. I just need to get it out somehow. Yeah, definitely. Sometimes I'm driving and I'll stop the car and I'll pull over. And okay, these thoughts come to me and I have to get them out. Or on my microphone, you're on the phone, the microphone. Or walking my dog. Sometimes I'm walking my dog and I just think of a poem and I'm saying it and I'm walking.
Well, and I hope that people that are listening and maybe watching this, that there are no bad times to put your ideas down there.
I mean,
There's
I'm
not a bad time.
exactly just that life gets in the way and duties. And if you're a woman, there's a lot of stuff that we do and we don't stop. So it's hard to find the time. But at least I have the summers off. So thank God I have the summers off.
My wife's a social worker in the
Okay.
local high school, so she's looking forward to a couple of months from now.
Yes, that's it.
I do have a couple of things I want to wrap up, but one of I think the important things for me was to pay homage, I think sometimes, to maybe someone who touched me personally. We have our writers, we can go to the authors, and there's a great line in the movie, what's it called, Good Will Hunting, where Robin Williams says to Matt Damon, do you have any friends? And Matt Damon says, sure I do, Shakespeare, Hawthorne. And he says, Robin Williams says, yeah, but they're all dead. You can't really have a relationship with them. But there are people like I think it's important what we're doing. I think it's important for others.
Yes.
I will always like to give credence to a very special person, Constance Ostrowski, who was my freshman English 1 and honors English professor. I think that what you do for a living, you're a teacher. I have enormous reverence. I don't think I could be a teacher, don't want to be, won't be. And surgeons, my other ones. But you are right up there with that. But Connie was one of those professors that she didn't coddle me. She didn't, even coax me. She just recognized that there was a spark and she just blew on it and she just got it going into a flame. And she's the reason I started waking up at 1 a.m. and writing poetry in the dark on scratches of paper I couldn't even see. Of course, this is very romanticized. I can go downstairs and get the poetry and read it aloud to you. It's awful, but it didn't matter. I was getting the ideas out there. Have you a person in your life that
No.
No.
There is no teacher that I had in high school or university or college that inspired me to write, honestly. I mean, because in university I was an English, I was an English major, right? So as an English major, we had to read 13 books in one semester. So there was a lot of reading, analyzing. I mean, there wasn't a lot for creative in a sense of when I took my one class, a poetry class in college, one poetry class, I was decimated after that class because everybody, I don't know, had something up their butt. I don't know what the heck. They were not exactly open, let's say. And I was a Greek, different nationality, different, I guess, culture. And when I said my poem out loud to the group, and I was shy and an introvert, I was just, everyone was judgmental, and the criticism just destroyed me, right? In front of people. I was 19 years old, 18. So nobody helped me or inspired me at that age. And if anything, I was writing in the dark. And it was only after maybe in my 30s or late 30s, I published my first book at 39. Like I never really showed anybody anything. In high school, I would write poems and everybody would read them and love them around me. Let's say my girlfriends, and then they would say, "Oh, can I give this to my boyfriend?" Or read a poem from my boyfriend, we broke up. So I would literally sit there writing poems for people. And that's how it happened. And I just started writing a lot of poems. But to say that there was a teacher that inspired me, I mean, I had some great teachers but nothing to say that, no, I'm sorry to say that, no. The only poem,
Let me reword it. Let me reword the question.
Yeah.
Writing wise or otherwise, inspiration or just someone.
Well, I'll say that. That's what I was going to say to you. It's just the dead poets. Like Anne Sexton is basically my.
No, I want a live person.
Oh, a live person.
If there's someone right now that's alive.
That's alive.
Forget it. It doesn't have to be writing. Just someone that's alive right now. Because here's what I'm asking. Just let me rephrase it. I know when in my life many people have touched me, and I wouldn't be who I am, writing wise or otherwise, as a human being. They have inspired me or they have helped me, and I either love them for that or I thank them for it. Connie Ostrowski is one person I thank.
Okay, yeah.
If there's one person right now that you could look into this camera and you could say, I want to make sure I thank you, who would it be?
Okay. Good question. You should have asked me that before, because I have to think about this one. I can't say off the top of my head there's anybody, because nobody really I don't know.
You can
Maybe
thank
my mother, I guess. I don't know who else to say. I'll say my mother. She's a safe bet because she always supports me in everything that I do. So I'll say my mother because she always supports me. She always says, "What are you doing now?" Oh my goodness, are you actually painting this? Where do you get the energy? So I'll say my mother, and my father, God rest his soul, who always supported me. But a living person, I don't really. That's it. My mom.
So
Yeah,
let's say
my
it together.
mom.
Thank
Okay.
you, Mom.
Thank you, Mom.
Mom was going to be watching this. She's going to be like, well,
Sure.
she's like, well,
Yeah.
finally, she came to it.
Finally, yeah.
You know, I do still write at some wee hours, but I'm like you. I'm not 29, 39, or even 49. I'm going to be 59 in a couple of months, which is daunting. And yet at the same time, when I do write, I feel, and this is just a weird word to use, immortal. And I also feel like every word I write is maybe not perfect, but has importance, has relevance. And if I'm writing at 3 in the morning, that's wonderful. But there are certain times of the day, I think, that really do call to me. And I think you have the similar essence
the
that I
morning,
do.
right? Yeah, it's the
So
morning.
why don't we move to the last piece that I'd like you to read for today?
Okay.
And you're gonna have to put your glasses on just as a quick reminder.
Remind me.
I love it. I love it. And
Okay.
what Christina's going to read for us is called "Making My Lists Before Dawn." Please.
Okay. So, making my list before dawn. Even if it looks as if I'm living my life, I'm always writing in my head about the time my hydrangeas stopped blooming and turned green. That time I waited inside the Met looking at the Greek statues and you never showed up. Going to the top of Tokyo and almost barfing. Your manicured hands on my preteen skin. The apartment number I lost my virginity in. Picking you up after a meeting and having a latte. Crying in a bathroom with blood on my thighs. Confessing to a tombstone. Never going to church except for weddings and funerals. Loving you more than you ever will. Expecting too much from nothing. Making lists of dog bones, tablecloths, and mouthwash. And still, you somehow squirmed yourself into my words again, without ever trying. Okay, so I'll tell you something about this poem. Did I tell you already? I'm not sure if I did. So this is the last poem that I added in the book right before I gave it to formatting. And it's because I removed another poem. I was going back and forth with my editor, and she never edited this one because it was the way you see it is the way it came out. The way I read it, it just came out like that. So it's raw. Pretty much that's the only book. That's the only poem in the book that is like that. Yeah.
And it should stay just as it is in my heart and in my emotions, because you just tore me through your life.
It was a little bit.
On the top of Tokyo.
I was pretty down when I wrote that one. So,
no, you tore me through with a voice that, as you say, you know, it's important to use the right words.
Yes.
And sometimes we edit them, and almost always we edit them.
Well,
but when it speaks to the reader, it's the first time I've ever heard that. I didn't read it when you sent it to me. I read the other one. Didn't read them both because I wanted it to infiltrate. And I believe that good writing infiltrates you. If it doesn't, then it's most likely in need of some pretty core editing.
Yes.
Right? Because even if it's like you were saying earlier, when it comes to reading someone else's words, even if you don't really like the character, if the writing is done well, if it's expressing something, you can't deny it. It's going to get under your skin. It's going to get into your heart. And that was incredible. Thank you so much for those words. And I hate to say that now. I've got the copy of it, so I'm gonna have to reread it again. But I get to edit this video a little bit later, which means I'm going to be able to listen to you read that over and over and over again, as could anyone who wants to rewind and hear that again. And I'd encourage anyone who's listening, and you're wondering if you can write something. You're wondering if you can say something. You can.
Yeah, you can.
And
definitely.
if what Christina has written has gotten under your skin in any way, shape, or form, you can trust that she didn't know if it could either. You can trust that she wrote it not knowing if it would need to be trashed or edited or just retooled. It's
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful, and I'm really
Thank you.
grateful. Christina Strigas was raised by Greek immigrants, born in Montreal, Canada. It's been featured by CBC Books in Your Ultimate Canadian Poetry List, 68 poetry collections recommended by you. She's the author of 5 novels, 3 poetry books, and 1 self-help poetry book based on of her popular quotes that went viral on Twitter. Her latest poetry book, Love and Metaxa, will be released on May 1st, 2021. There'll be links down below. Please make sure you get that. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on In Conversation with Christina Strigas. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
See you again soon, I'm sure.
You.
Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Right. What am I doing?
You're done.
I'm done. Okay. Thank you.
I'm gonna leave that on. I'm gonna leave that on the video. That was genius.
Okay.